Sam, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yep.
We're going to mute them. Unless you want to get up close to me, I can do it.
No, it's not Sam.
I'm
They
muted.
got it. I'm calling this Newington Board of Education special meeting to order. I hate the way I sound. Today is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. The time now is 6:06 p.m. Would you please stand as you are able? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to ask Ms. Craig, she is online. I'm going to ask you to take the roll, please.
Michael Branda,
Here.
Danielle Drozd,
Here.
Dr. Bruce Fletcher,
Here.
Beth Mankey Hutt Wagner,
Here.
Richard Leverrier, Amy Parati,
Here.
Sam Sharma,
Here.
Jessica Weaver,
Here.
Anastasia Yap. I have everyone here except Mr. Leverrier and Miss Yap.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we are now going to go to agenda item B, which is public participation. If anyone in the public wishes to participate, you can call 860-665-8659, or you can raise your hand online. We do limit civil participation to 3 minutes.
It's ready for us to do this first. It's exec session.
Okay, this is supposed to be there?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Okay, I don't see anyone's hands raised, and there's nobody here in the room from the public wishing to speak. So we are now going to move on to what should be item C is listed as item D. We are going to be moving into executive session, which is a discussion of attorney-client privilege communication concerning the DPH-EPA matter. And before we go in, we take a motion on that. Do you have a comment you want to make?
Yeah, just before we go into executive session, I was just hoping that we could review the rules of executive session. I do have some concerns personally, even myself just speaking during executive session, because it was my understanding when I first became a part of the board 3 years ago, and then again reviewed last year, that executive session is kind of a privileged private time to discuss matters that may not be ready to go public, or to hash out things that are of a private, confidential nature. And I'm just concerned that some documents and some privileged, confidential information went out to the public in a very public way, which I feel is a ethical violation of our role as board members. So I support going into executive session, but I have some concerns, and I feel concerned about even speaking and expressing myself knowing that unfortunately some board members are not keeping the executive session executively confidential.
No, not yet.
Move to go into executive session?
Second.
All right, the motion to go into executive session is made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Okay. And we will be coming back into public session as soon as we are finished with this here.
And Craig, you're going to display, for people that are watching from home, there's going to be a display about executive session, and then we're going to be in a different link.
Yes, you will all go up there.
So we log out of that,
Everyone
right?
at home is going to see that full screen. I'm going to kick the Helen Nelson room out so you can use it in executive session with remote participants. The regular meeting will proceed and be recorded with this screen.
And I'm not going to be able to see
Helen Nelson
that.
will be completely outside and anyone
Am I?
with devices will join.
No, you're not
the
going to see
executive
that.
session that was invited to that
No.
meeting.
But we put a separate link in for the executive session.
Correct.
So we still, do we
There is
click
one.
off of this meeting then?
Yes, everyone that's connected here should leave, and I'm going to kick Helen Nelson out right now, or just.
Oh, they're in executive session already.
Then do they come out and vote or not always?
Not always.
Yeah.
You can wait.
So we will be back in public session in 3 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Just a reminder to everybody that is online to please mute your microphones. Thank you.
No, ends 7-0.
It's us.
Okay. All right.
New business.
All right, we're back in public session. So we're now going to move to what would be agenda item D, which is our new business. And we will begin with an update on the solar power projects. Dr. Brummett, I'm going to turn it over to you and Lou.
Yes, I'm pleased to report, pleased to report that Lou has made some substantial headway on our Verigy solar panel project for Patterson. And I wanted to share that positive news with the board and an overview about where we're going very soon. It's all yours, Mr. Jacomowitz.
Thank you. The developments over the last few weeks have been very positive with Verigy. As I was able to reach out to them, be able to start laying the framework of what we needed to discuss, why we needed to be discussed. We had so far 2 meetings on this, third one scheduled for tomorrow. The first meeting we had a week and a half ago was a tabletop Google Meet review of all 4 projects. They had given us a proposed how they would want to run the logistics for the projects at the location, where they're going to set up, how they're going to do it, how they're going to interact with the school operations every day. In that session, we went into much more substantive and comprehensive detail about the interaction with daily traffic patterns at the school for the morning and afternoon arrival dismissals, interaction with recess, interaction with where they were looking to potentially close down access to the cafeteria kitchen because all of our lunch meals are produced at 2 of the 7 schools and then distributed to the other places. So we have some very tight timelines that have to be met. And if we lose 10 or 15 minutes at the first stop, everybody's going to be 15 minutes late afterwards. And we also had Mr. Luby there as for environmental consult to everybody. I'm sorry, there's something next. Okay. To talk about the things that are potentially relevant, because it's not what you see face to face, is what you don't see and what you bump into and have unintended consequences. At all schools besides asbestos, there's always the need to be sensitive to potential PCB activity, because especially when you're drilling through walls and having to knock down different things to create space and to build out, those are always things we have to look at and consider in the approach we take to the project, and how would be the best way of going about it so we have minimum disruptions to any of these things, which could require an abatement process or other measures in the school for modifications on the fly to the daily schedule to make things work. So they were very good about going through that. On the first one, we went through all 4 projects and got a good feel for what needed to happen. Last Thursday, we had the in-depth meeting at John Patterson, where we went through all those, on-site, in-person, being able to touch everything, see everything, and recognize where the potential risks are, what things we wanted to work around, and good ideas came out of it. They were able to recognize what they needed to do, and we can make this work for the benefit of the school and be as minimally disruptive to the overall process. So it went very well from that standpoint. And, we had gone and based on what they were showing as a pattern of how they were going to build it out, we went and we checked below the roofs in all locations to make sure everything was fine, and it would be, and no issues at all. But we went that extra step of making sure everything is, tidied up nice. So there's no risk of any real concerns that are here. In the discussions we had with them, we did also involve the principals, the security officer, the custodian at the site, so they know what is going to be happening and how to react and be ready for it from their standpoint. So everybody's in good shape. since this is the one project the board did approve a year ago to move ahead with, the contractor asked if they could move ahead starting next week with November 8th, sometime during that week to mobilize and get things ready. They're not completely ready. They haven't done all of their security clearance for employees through Mike Morgan's office. That's really the last part that they have to do to vet all of the people who are going to be working at the school over the term of the project. And at that point, I'm, absolutely in support of their request that they be allowed to start next week. I know we wanted to have the board weigh in on this and, if there are any concerns at all about them moving forward. And I'd say at this point, I would say no. They've covered all the things they needed to cover. They're aware of all the things that make a difference for the success of the project. And they are, I'm confident we're going to have a really good project as a result of this. So I would, give the board my recommendation that, they can be allowed. The other three projects are downstream a little bit. We're going to both Elizabeth Green and Chafee tomorrow to do the same in-depth on-site work. Those would be definitely ready for a consideration at the November 16th board meeting for authorization to proceed. I'm not sure about the high school. They did have to do some redesign work, and I haven't heard back if that's ready yet. So we could go through the whole process again and make sure everything's all set. But I don't anticipate that we'll, have any kind of material issues coming out of it. So even if 2 out of the 3 can be approved November 16th, and the succeeding project in the high school would be sometime in the near future after that. So any questions? All right, Mr. Branda?
You may have said it and I may have missed it, but if they were to start on November 8th and weather and all the things went right, how long are they saying that everything would take?
Said it would be 6 weeks to get everything ready on the roof. And then the electrical hookup would be different building by building depending on what needs to happen. At John Patterson, they will need to excavate in the area behind the kitchen because the electrical transformer is here, the entry is here. They have to cut in partway through it because there's no facility for them to get in through the building.
Okay.
That's not the case at the other places. We have some flexibilities, but Patterson's probably the most complex from a construction standpoint of the 4, even though it's not all that large.
Is everything with the parking lot now squared away in terms of because like you said, they're going to have to take from point A to point B and go in there where the parking lot was. Is that just going to get replaced, whatever they needed to dig up?
Yes, what we gave them for direction on that is they have to chop out a couple of the concrete pads for the sidewalk because the solar equipment is going to be mounted in the green space on the west side of the building below where it said John Patterson School.
Okay.
On the right side as you're looking at it from
Church Street.
From the Church Street.
Yeah.
We took the sign down to give them more working room in there. So they will take about 20 feet of that space from midway all the way to what would be the south corner. Then the sidewalk pads, the concrete pads there, would need to come up because they need to run 8 conduits underground there. And then they have to dig into the blacktop right behind the kitchen to put in 2 vaults underground, which will be the interconnection equipment and also being big enough for an electrician to get in there and do what he needs to do.
Okay. So realistically, in terms of air quotes disturbance, we're talking probably through the holiday break, right?
Yeah, they said that site work would be 3 weeks in total for that part.
Okay.
So depending on the timing, they may get everything up on the roof, but bad weather conditions set in, they may wait a little while to, break into the parking lot.
Okay.
To do that, but they're hoping to get all that done before mid-December.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. O's?
Dr. Fletcher, may I ask Mr. Jack Mose a question?
Yes, you may.
How old is our Patterson roof?
The Patterson roof,
I know there was a little leak issue last year. Is our roof?
that leak issue was at the point of the edge of the roof where there's flashing. And the flashing, you just pulled away a little bit, was a little loose. That was basically caulked back into place, and it's been fine since then. That was along the wall of the gymnasium on the hallway side for the kindergarten wing. Okay, that roof section, for the kindergarten wing and the media center were both done in 1999 or 2000, depending on the date. So they're 22 to 23 years old for those two roof sections. The rest of the roof is a combination of 2017, 2018, and 2019 vintage. We did it over 3 summers to replace the whole roof system there.
Can I ask another question? So is that the 2017, 18, and 19 part of the roof, is that where the solar panels are going?
Yes, 17, 18, there will be nothing going on the
Older stuff.
1999.
Okay, thank
They're just a
you.
little bit too old to
Thank you.
do that. Ms. Parati?
Do you know if, I know there was some concern at some point that too many changes would result in a increase or decrease in the savings or
There
increase
is
in the
nothing being
price or
proposed at this
anything?
point. Everything is as initially proposed at the contract rate. I believe it's 6 cents per kWh for the John Patterson job. They range from 3.5 to 6 cents, depending on which building they're at and the size of the solar array.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like a very productive and
Yeah,
good meeting.
well.
Thank you.
I think it's worth reiterating that Lou spent a substantial amount of time trying to get to the table, and all those efforts have paid off beautifully. And I want to show my appreciation to Lou because it was a lot of work. But as we've said all along, we're very much in favor of solar panels and their cost efficiency, energy efficiency, all of those things.
Go ahead.
Do we need to vote on the John Patterson starting on November 8th tonight? To keep this like, we want to make sure we're doing everything right, we don't want to, yeah.
Good question. Well, Patterson's already been voted on.
Right.
To go forward. It's just the board asked us to, let's take a Inform. pause, make sure everything is the way we want it to be.
So just to be clear.
It would be whatever the pleasure of the board is. If you want me to hold off and wait till the 16th, we can do that if it's.
No.
I just want to be clear that this has already been voted on.
Yes, it
And
has.
so I don't want to, I don't want to see anywhere that we are approving a project without voting on it. So it has already been voted on.
Yes, in June of '21.
Thank you for the clarification, Madam Secretary. Ms. Weaver?
I guess just wondering, did they give a reason why of the delay? Was it just kind of, because I know there's been so many like supply chain issues, other things, like they just work order stuff or
I think they just have a bunch of.
a bunch of projects? Okay.
Because one of the people I was working with, his name is Brian Smith. He's
Yeah.
one of the founders of the company and like their chief legal officer. He was impossible to get a hold of. And I think he's got like 25 contracts going concurrently. And it's just a matter of circling back until we got to the point of his level of comfort. This is okay, right? I'm ready to take action here.
Thank you.
All right. No further questions or comments. We're now going to move on to the second item under new business, which is our review of comments made by a town council member, and we're going to determine a response. So you have information there.
Yes, I do. I'm going to just read from some notes. I did send out a day or two ago to the board an audio tape that was provided to me that was strictly those remarks. I did not attend the town council meeting. I do attend many, but the agenda did not seem to have any board business on it, so I was not on the line that night. But it was made known to me both through a fellow board member as well as a media outreach. So that prompted me to get some more information. As I often do, when I was able to ascertain the comments, I did run it by legal counsel as to an appropriate response and was advised that a special meeting was in order and that because some of the comments were made directed at the entire board, Bruce and Dr. Fletcher and I could not respond on behalf of the board without the board's input. So that is why it's coming to a meeting versus let's just handle this offline and write a letter. It ultimately is a board. Many of the comments made were about the board's functioning or their actions, et cetera. So what I've done for the sake of starting a conversation this evening is I've listened to the tape. I did write down the key items that were raised, and I do have some prepared responses for the board's consideration. And I do have a few slides. I know Lou's going to assist me with that in a moment, but what I would like to do is just start going. There was about 9 statements made that were directed toward the full board or myself and/or Dr. Fletcher. Namely that we should resign. But the first comment that was made about was the survey, which the board has seen. And we have partnered with the Chamber of Commerce to send it out. And there was a statement made that we're trying to indoctrinate our students by this, as a result of this survey. And I just want to remind the board that the introductory remarks of the survey were that we're trying to be thoughtful, proactive, responsive about how we provide our community with an educational experience. And this was part of our commitment to that, to find out how they think we're doing. We've asked community members to complete the survey. We have asked board members, the entire faculty, high school students, and community members, and Chamber was assisting us with that. And I personally vetted the survey many times, hours, to make sure there was nothing in there that would in any way be offensive to anybody or be misconstrued as some sort of, unfair approach toward equity. And I'm very confident that that is not what the survey says. The board has access to the survey. It is listed on the Office of Equity and Inclusion website. And last I checked, we've had well over 100 respondents. I have not gotten any parent complaints nor citizen complaints. And the chamber also got a complaint, I believe, from that same individual. And they just simply felt like it was appropriate part of their job role to kind of get feedback from our community members through the business community. So I guess the bottom line is there's no indoctrination in any way, shape, or form. The second comment was that NPS students are not just behind like everyone else because of COVID. We've been behind for the past 10 years. I don't know what data the individual was thinking about or looking at. We've seen a decline in our test scores due to COVID. And we've also had a significant increase in diversity. I will show that very briefly. The board has certainly seen this before, that we are an increasingly diverse community. I've only been in the district a little over 3 years, and it's increased significantly in the 3 years I've been here. So let me just go to my diversity slide here. The board has seen this. This is very similar to what I've presented at budget meetings, but I've updated it to this school year's data. And as you can see now, I arrived in 2019, but even since 2018, we've gone up close to 2 percentage points in special ed, over 2 percentage points in 504, 2 percentage points, almost 3 percentage points in EL or ML learners. Free reduced lunch has gone up 10%. Open choice has gone up by 20 students. Our magnet population is hovering around 200 over the past few years, so I just, and here's our diversity in terms of white, Hispanic, Black. We're just becoming more and more diverse.
I know there's a lot of comments, and I did raise my hand. I did get called on in case anyone can't see it. I just want you to know that. So can we kind of approach this with it's like we respond to one comment and then another? Because I have a comment about this. So rather than us going through them all and then us have to pull this back up again, I don't know. That's just a thought. Rather than doing this all at once and then respond, I don't know. I don't know if we're voting. I think we're discussing.
Just going to discuss and make recommendations. So that's basically what we're going to do for.
So I don't know. I just I know this one is a hot topic, and I heard all of his comments, and this one actually I disagreed with many of the counselors' comments, but this one I did actually have a question about, and I've emailed about it. And the question is why is our diversity population, and I know that's not the right way to say it, increasing higher than a rate of our census? So the census for Newington for 2020, when they did the census, it was 5%, and the EL was even lower, and then we have this huge increase in our schools. So I think we need to respond to why there's such a discrepancy. because there's a huge discrepancy between those numbers and the town population.
Oh,
In the census. Now, I'm not saying the census, I mean, I assume the census is right, but it's a discrepancy and it's enough that because I emailed you, I think before I even ran, asking like, why is there such a discrepancy?
I haven't seen the town census data. I'd have to review that. This is just current data in our school district.
Right.
So,
So I think we need to, when we respond to these, we need to respond with this is what it appears, yes, this is the data, but why is it that? Is it I don't know why but I know that he made accusations in that about where that population was coming from. And I think we need to be able to justify that it is or it's not coming from that.
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
All right, so we have a question online, Ms. Yap.
I'm just a little bit confused. I'm trying to understand the question. And I didn't watch the whole video. I tried to, but I was busy. But what you're saying is, essentially, are you saying that he's saying that because we're taking in more kids, is that what you're saying? I'm trying to understand the question, Danielle. I'm not understanding what we're
If
asking.
I'm I don't want to misquote what was said by the counselor who said this, but it was something along the lines of, we have an influx of out of town. He was very clear to say out of town students and that they were bringing down our school system. And I'm summarizing, but am I summarizing well? Okay. So yes, that's his point was about where are these students coming from?
Okay. So we do take in open choice students, right, Ms. Brummett? I think 125 is what we said we had, if I remember, in our meeting. Are they essentially saying that because we take in the open choice students, that's where our test scores are lower? Is that what they're saying? Am I not understanding that right?
I don't,
Not about to say what
I couldn't
No.
venture a guess on that.
No, I wouldn't attempt to.
But I will tell you open choice students are about 3% of our population. So it'd be impossible to say that all of our diversity can be attributed to open choice students. We are in our own right, highly diverse. And, that's just that's a factual statement that we are diverse regardless of our open choice population.
Okay, thank you.
Should I put that back up?
Just going back because Mr. Stroh's point about comment by comment, I just want to also just go back to the survey. Ms. Yap and I were on the meeting, and Ms. Yap, correct me if you disagree with this, but the survey concept was presented to the committee. There were town staff on that meeting, and from everything I heard describing the intent of the survey, I feel like it's reflected in the survey, and I didn't hear objections from the committee, which again includes some town employees that were there, and there was other people on that call too. So I just wanted to be clear that it was actually a very collaborative effort, and the town was also involved in that.
That's
Thank
correct.
you. Okay, so any further questions on the second statement? Ms.
Yeah,
Green?
and I just want to make sure we're not conflating. I know that some things get taken out of context and there has been implications, I think even at this board, that, diverse would bring down our scores. And what we mean by diversity is not just by race, gender, ethnicity. It's a slew of things. It's learning ability. It is, right? We have, if you've looked at it, our special education population has now increased to 16.4%. Is that? I mean, that's a two percentage point increase within the last 4 years. It's a lot. So, I mean, we'll talk about that during budget time as well, but that's a big chunk, as well as, multi-language learners, right? Making sure part of when we use the term equity is saying that we have multiple materials in multiple languages, right? That's one of the things. So I just want to make sure we're very clear on that, because I think in the social media era and national rhetoric we get in, that I think is not always, I've never really felt it at this board or at Newington Public Schools. So I just want to make that clear. But I think the outside rhetoric and where that kind of comes from is this misinterpretation that of these kind of concepts that get put together in a sentence, and then it kind of, you can't get the real message out of that. So I think the intention with that is to make sure we're meeting every student where they're at. That's the concept of equity. We have a lot of trainings on that, and for that very reason, because we have a changing population with very different needs as well as learning abilities, and I think that's really where we want to be able to meet every student where they're at. So I just wanted to clarify that we've talked about that at our board meetings, at our beginning ones, at convocation, about many things, but I think that's the spirit with what I think all of us go into with. So I think that term gets thrown around a lot, and we need to just maybe reiterate it as much as possible. And I think that's part of, not, and I just want to say equity is not new. We were going in our policy committee, and our policies from 2001 say equity
Exactly.
and stuff like that. So to me, I think it gets conflated too with like this new thing that it's getting indoctrinated with, or like this term indoctrination, all this stuff. Like it's all this new thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we already have policies back from 2001, long before Dr. Brummett, long before any of us. I mean, I was not in the school system. I'm not gonna say you, Michael, I don't know. But I just think that is kind of getting mushed around a lot in this kind of rhetoric that's being done. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Just wanted to add on to that the increased diversity, which again encompasses many different factors, I personally don't believe is necessarily attributed to the changes in people moving in and out of town, or students that we're taking from other towns. Personally, this is just my feeling as an educator, I think we are providing more services and identifying the needs in students more than we ever have before. And really, for the first time in a long time, giving kids what they need. If we reflect on our own experiences in education, many of the students that are now in an inclusive classroom were not before, or were in a classroom struggling to get by, barely making it out because they weren't being given the appropriate services. So I think that education has come a long way with that equity piece in mind, making sure, again, that we meet every student where they're at and giving them the tools they need to succeed in their own lane.
And in regards to the comment about our scores, correct me if I'm wrong. I would think I might maybe have heard things like this. Didn't laws change so when we have the state testing, the SBAC, kids used to be exempt from taking it, and now every student is taking it, even if they're an EL student who just came in to our country yesterday, they have to take it doesn't matter at what level they're at. And then in addition to that, the laws changed as far as writing 504 plans for students, and that was recent as well. So with the new law changes, we're going to identify more students, and our testing net is a lot bigger, so it's going to disproportionately state that we have different changes. So those are new laws that are not our laws, those are laws that were passed down by the State Department.
I think all of those are valid contributors to the fact that children have more struggles than they used to have. And I know there's often comments, no, not necessarily during this discussion, that we have similar numbers of teachers now, even though our population is kind of stabilized. But I think we can all see that our kids are far more complex with a multitude of needs. And Tom Myler, our ML coordinator, has indicated that there was days when multiple ML students moved into the district. And that's just going to push your structures and what you have to do to meet the needs, as the board eloquently has stated. Before I go forward, is there any other different approach that we should take to this list? Or I'm open to whatever the board would like me to do. I just kind of made a bulleted list.
Are you looking, we're giving our feedback on the comments. Mm-hmm. Are you going to take then the feedbacks we're giving and then draft a press release? Are you going to put it on social media? I'm just kidding.
Definitely not that.
What's the end game?
Well, it could be any of the above. It could just be this board discussion as our record of our response. It could be a letter. So it really is, again, the agenda item is discussion and determine any response, and it could be nothing. But we could not do any response when we're invoking the full board without the full board being a party to discussion.
I think what I would like to see tonight is our comments here being our response.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't see any need of writing a letter to anyone.
right, given that, I will then move on.
Yes.
And we'll go from there. Another comment made was that our students graduate with high honors but cannot read or write. That is 100% false. Actually, yeah, I graduated with high honors.
Oh, I
too.
did not graduate from here, but.
Our school profile speaks to the accomplishments of our students, the colleges they're getting into. Last year, our students left the high school with 1,000 college credits. You can't earn a college credit if you don't know how to read or write. So again, it just is not an accurate statement. And I just want to make sure that's very, very clear.
So again, when I heard that as a parent and a board member, I was like, right? So we hear on media, oh, kids graduate and they don't know how to read, right? We take and we run with that. As you know, I do know many students who have graduated with high honors, and I can verify that they can in fact read and write and do very well in very affluent colleges coming out of Newington High School.
There's only one thing I want to add to that, just for clarification, that there are times that our special ed students are selected for honors. And it's not based upon their academics per se, but what they are given as an assignment based upon what their needs are. As somebody that worked in special education and working with students in that manner. So yes, there were students that graduated that couldn't read, but their requirements in the education they received are not pertaining to high honors. So to lump it all together and to make that statement, it's just not factual.
And to build on that, for people who aren't in the industry, a student who has is tested and qualifies for special education gets an IEP because they cannot meet the standard curriculum. That's why you get an IEP. If it's just that you can't do it because of you need a modification to it, then you get a 504. But if you actually can't access the curriculum, that's those students. It's a different curriculum. It's not the same curriculum that every other student gets. So, you know, when we make comments like these broad comments, we need to make sure we understand the state laws.
Yes. Ms. Yop?
So I am going to say something. So I have a child who's special education who can read and write, who did go to your schools, and he's very young, and he can read and write. So he's actually reading on a 4th grade level, and he's 5. So I am going to say that is not true. Special education students might need help with certain areas, but they can read and write as well and go to the school system.
Yep. And as I said, some students. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, I just wanted to see how many of us had graduated from Newington High with high honors at this table. Myself, Beth, Dr. Brummett. Yeah, okay, so just wanted to see how many are proof right there. But I think one of the things is there's a lot of broad brush statements that we'll continue to go through right now. But I think it's important that we denounce and outright say how wrong that is, because when you paint these broad brushes, it leads to people thinking that maybe, well, not all, right? But maybe some of that's true. And that's not true at all. I think it's really important to make sure we say not one person from Newington High School and high honors is graduated with that. And maybe didn't even mean high honors. You know, I think that, I don't know what the insinuation was, but it was insinuating that we are not making our students or preparing our students for the real world or college or higher education or further learning, what have you. And I think that is the antithesis to our portrait of a graduate, which is making every student citizen and graduate level ready. I know every single student in my classes, obviously I was the nerd and in high honor classes, I know, shocking, I know. Every single one of us was prepared not only for higher education, but for going out into the real world, getting jobs. And I think it's really important to note that all of that couldn't be possible at reading or writing. And we were not only prepared, but actually, I would say a majority of those of us who went on did exceptionally well in our higher education or other pursuits. So to me, it's quite an insult to not only our current but former students to say that, you know, to debase and level it down to that, to say that. So I just think it's important to say none of that is true to any degree. Not one person or one student that would apply, that statement would apply to.
Okay, any further comments on that? All right, we'll move on to the next one.
The next comment had to do with the fact that there was a allegation that he texts both the board chair and myself, but never gets responses. Personally, I checked my texts. I have not received a text from this individual since May of 2022, and the text was about Anna Reynolds' awnings, which I responded to. There has been no text ever since then, no emails, no phone calls, so there was nothing that I did not respond to. And I'll let Dr. Fletcher respond to where he is with the texting.
Okay. This is something that I haven't wanted to talk about. I've kept this to myself since February. So yes, the counselor is correct. He has texted me, and I have not responded. Because first of all, they were not questions. They were just derogatory statements. And I refused to dignify those statements that were coming. I will give you just some examples, and the reason I'm going to do that is because those text messages were received during Board of Education meetings, which is inappropriate, and it threw me off a couple of times, but I refused to respond. Now, I do know that every one of these messages is FOIable. Okay, so it's not a private thing. But when he was attacking me during a meeting, and I'm not going to read everything, and I'm going to change some of the language because I've got a little more integrity. And he basically is telling us, we were in a discussion of something in a meeting, he said it has nothing to do with the town. We're spending too much money, and all we want to do is continue instead of sharpening our pencils. Then he says, while we were in a discussion, he said, there's no way that you can go forward with this. That would be unethical to vote on something when you don't have all the proper information. It's not fair to the residents of Newington. I dealt with that in that meeting. Okay, I didn't respond to him, but I dealt with that during that meeting. And then he texted me that I was irresponsible. This is during a meeting. Then he says, Dr. Brummett is lying to the people. I'm not going to say anything beyond what he said there. He's basically telling me I need to get it under control. And then he says a couple more things about that. And then one of the things I do not appreciate is people bringing my church into this stuff here. I keep my church and my Christian life, I keep it to myself. I live the way that I'm supposed to. But when people start making comments about me and the way that I run my church, they're out of line, and I don't appreciate it. Then we were talking about the facilities. He said the Board of Education ran the facilities into the ground. You're full of. Not once, he said it twice. Then he says, do your job. He says, you ran on this, do it or resign. Then this comment, you are an embarrassment to the rest of the BOE and the residents of the town. I expect your resignation tomorrow. You wonder why I didn't respond to his text messages? Then he complained about the contract, giving Dr. Brummett a 3-year contract. No one in the town gets one. We're wrong in doing all of that. Then he says it's not sustainable, on and on. And then the last comment that I have from September 30th is you and the superintendent need to resign now and do the town a big favor, which he also reiterated at the town council meeting. So my response to that is I wasn't elected by him. I was elected by the people of the town. And whether I'm in good graces with the NRTC or not anymore is not my issue. I was elected by the people to do a job. I'm here as a representative of the people, and I'm going to do what is best for the Board of Education. I'm going to do what's best for the students, for the teachers, and for the people of this town. I'm not a politician, and I don't intend to act like a politician. People, I'm going to make a statement, and this can go on the record, is one of the reasons people are upset with me or a particular person is because I don't fit in their pocket. I refuse to be controlled. I'm not a puppet. I have a mind of my own, and I know how to reason things out. And I will not do something that is not reasonable. I will not do anything that is unethical. I've been called a liar. I've been called a deceiver. And this is the nonsense that I've been putting up with as a board chair. Now, would I do this all over again? You better believe it. Okay, all I'm doing now, I'm taking a stand tonight. Okay, I'm not backing down. I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. I am not resigning from anything, not going anywhere. Okay? And so I think that we all need to stand up and say, that's it. We're not going to be pushed around. The Board of Education is not an agency that needs to be pushed around. Okay? We have to govern ourselves. That's why we're elected officials on this board. We govern what goes on. We take care of it. If there's anything inappropriate that happens, we will take care of it. We're not going to let it slide. I could never live with myself if I allowed cheating, stealing, or any corruption to go on. I cannot turn a blind eye to that, nor will I. Now, I'm going to keep my comments there. I have responded to all of these text messages that I have received. This is what I've been dealing with. Okay, so that is my response to the statement that I need to resign. I do not respond. Absolutely correct. I don't respond to nonsense. I don't respond to statements like this. Now I have to. And so now I have. So let it be written. So let it be done. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. I was not provided with a reason why I should resign, just that I should resign. The other statement was that the meetings are shut down, members of the public are not allowed to have public participation, or there was another statement that they won't let us into meetings. And we have to adhere to all regulations relative to a public meeting, and we've never not let someone in, as is allowed with public comment too, that we've never not allowed public comment. And we allow it twice during all of our board meetings. The final allegation was that we edit our videos, that we're hiding something. We use a private company. That did come up at one of our board meetings, hence why I asked Mr. Holland to create that executive session sign, or whatever that's called, a placeholder, while we were in executive session, because it did look like when I reviewed that videotape from that executive session that it was choppy, that it looked like we cut things off. But in fact, we were just merging the two regular meetings together because we had nothing as a fill during executive session. That may have created a perception, but we did clear that up with the citizen that came through. We do not use a private company. We tape our meetings. They go over to Jacob Trowbridge. He uploads them onto YouTube. There is no editing. In that case, he put two meetings together, but nothing was cut out. I will say there has been challenges in this room at times with technology where maybe things weren't clear, but we're doing our best to work with the technology and always have technology here for support. But in no way, shape, or form have we ever edited someone out of a board meeting or not allowed someone into a board meeting, other than, of course, executive sessions. So that was the last comment that I took away from. It was a very brief comment, but it certainly was loaded with a lot of issues. So that really is all that I prepared for this evening. Oh, I'm sorry, there was one more.
Oh, hold on. So there's a question or a comment from Anastasia.
Okay. Got one.
Okay, I'm just going to make a statement, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to make this statement. I've said this before. I'm very new to this town, and we have to figure out a way to come together. I really, really am not liking the conflicts. You know, I apologize for the things that you were texted. I don't think they're all appropriate at all. But I do think that we need to figure out a way to work together. No one should be treated like that on either side. So I do apologize that you were treated that way. But I walked into a town that was already a mess. And I'm going to say it just like that. It's too much division, and people need to start working together. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to figure it out, because it can't keep continuing like this. It's just too much. It's just too much. I mean, people need to understand that, we are one Board of Ed and one town council in the same town of Newington. We are not different towns, different states against each other, but you would think the way everything is going that we are like enemies, and it really needs to stop. We're supposed to do what's good for the children, what's good for the citizens, and hopefully, after this, we can find a way to work together. This has really got to stop. It's just too much. And, hopefully some things can change. Thank you.
I want to add one thing, though. I want to clarify. I have an excellent working relationship with the mayor. We get a lot of things done working together. There are other town council members we don't have an issue with. They look forward to working with us. So it's not like it's a great big division there, but one is enough. Go ahead. You have two
I
comments.
have permission to make two comments. So the first one is another thing that was stated, which I found really interesting from that counselor was, if our school system's bad, it's going to affect our property taxes and our property values, right? And I've always agreed with that. So this is kind of like a two comment in one. So what Ms. Yap is saying is not new. We've been saying this as a board well before she moved into town. It's not a novel thought that we need to get along. When I was on the board last time, I was like, can't we just have one big budget and be one happy family? And people informed me that we're not allowed to do that. But it's so bizarre because it's a true statement that he made. Like, it's the one statement I really agreed with, right? If our school systems are bad, that's going to affect our property value. And all of this that's being portrayed where anyone can see this stuff, I don't understand why an entity would try and make everything look bad, right? Because that's not good. It goes against that theory. So yes, I would love for us to, be one big happy family, because at the end, we're here for the kids and we're here for the teachers. And yes, we need to worry about the town, but it's the town that needs right. So we have to worry about all of all the players. So it really saddened me, because I feel like in light of everything that's going on, these comments and everything, is that there's some weird thrill to make us look bad, and it's bizarre. So let's build each other up. We always talk about with the kids, practice kindness. I have a shirt that says sprinkle kindness everywhere, it's free. So why there be people that would actively try and make us, rather than work with us, look bad? I don't understand that. So that was my babble comment.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Hodwagner.
I was going to say, I agree with what you just said and also with what Ms. Yap said. And I have requested on several occasions and I've made the request at the top of Cedar Mountain, for lack of a better funny thing to say. And the few times that we've tried to work together, doors have been slammed. People have yelled at one another. It's been toxic. So I would like another chance for both bodies to work together. But I think there has to really be some groundwork put in. And I also would like to inquire about if there is an ethics committee or not set up in this town, and why, and if that committee is formed, there's a lot of ethical things all around that perhaps need to be looked at, because we are elected officials, and long after we leave this table and they leave that table, I have concerns about the integrity of these two bodies, and what we're supposed to be and what has kind of fallen off. And so I just hope that perhaps an ethics committee, I don't know if that's on the town or where it falls, but can really look at what's going on, because this is not the Newington I know. This is not the Newington I grew up in, I don't think, unless I was, blind and naive, which sure I was naive, but I just think that things have really gotten sour. I think social media definitely plays a role in it. So I'm gonna stop there.
Ms. Weaver.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think, and I've said this before, one, I definitely concur with Ms. Strode's comments. I ran on my my phrasing is the economic vitality of a town is directly tied to an education system. And I truly believe that. It's our tax base for at least 13 years, right? Hoping that they stay, right? And I think from my vantage point, I feel that as though there has been time and time, I came into this not knowing any of the history. I knew some of the theatrics or dramatics from a distance. I feel like a lot of us were on the periphery, some of us that were newer to the board. And I knew I did not expect, I think all of us go into this type of service with the intention of doing what is best for our students in our town. That has always been my understanding, not only just on the board side, but on the town side as well. That is what I put as good faith actors. I think the implication of this both sides is difficult to say that that's what's happening, because I feel as though, from my perspective, I will not speak for anyone else, as though an olive branch has been given multiple times. We have done it through budget ways of saying, if we save this, we will give the town $400,000 back. If we do this, well, then we can work with the town on this. We would love to be able to find a joint facilities committee. Talks were shut down completely on the town side. And I feel that there is a large disdain for the leadership and the staffing in our public school system. And I feel that the ire has now been put right on Dr. Brummett and Dr. Fletcher, I think unfairly. And I just wanted to say that I think there has been attempts, good faith efforts, to try and repair this relationship. But I've said this, I think, before, and maybe other meetings or subcommittees, but you can only, it takes two to tango, right? We need one hand to reach out to the other and the other to accept. And I felt that frustration. I think we're all frustrated with it, but I think these comments are concerning because it's one of those things that it continues the difficulty to, and I think we'll continue to try and give the olive branch. And that is not to say that, it's unfounded that we can't do that. But I just wanted to say, I think there is a unfounded disdain for our public schools on certain counselors' parts. And I think that's because, yes, we take a large part of the budget. Personally, I think it's worth it. And I don't think we've had some great budget negotiations and trying to get it down. And I think I think to Dr. Brummett and Dr. Fletcher's credit, we've tried to make it work in a way that is creative with an MOU and stuff like that. I think we have really tried to make it so we are not putting an undue burden, not only on our town, but on our taxpayers. We have been very conscious of that. But I feel that is where perhaps the disdain is, and perhaps more history that not all of us are privy to. I never know sometimes what happens outside of this board table, but I think that is where it comes from. And I think it's unfounded, and it's disappointing that continues and comes out in this way, in those kind of comments. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that I think a lot of us do come in with this good faith effort, and it's not like we have just been like, nah, we're not going to work with you guys. It's not like we're part of the same town. We are all neighbors. We are all part of this town. We all live in this town. The decisions we make at this table directly impact our lives too. We are not just simply, immune from that. So thank you.
All right, Dr. Michael.
It'll be really quick. First, I want to make sure I say this, because we're going to wrap this up, and then I know everybody wants to get home to their families. We are so lucky in this town to have you both sitting where you're sitting. Dr. Fletcher is a Republican, and I am a Democrat, and I can tell every single person that he is the best person to be sitting in that chair right now. All of our educators, all of our students are very lucky to have him sitting there. I heard what you said, Ms. Yap, and I 1,000% agree with it, but I don't think that can happen if the comments that were made go without any consequence at the town council table. And to Beth's point about an ethics committee, there is an ethics committee. Whether it's functioning or not is up for debate, but I would like to see the town council, led by the mayor, address the comments made, because to me, there cannot be a working relationship if comments are said at the table in the way that they were said. There's a difference between if Councilor Camillo wants to come to our table and spend his 3 minutes and share his opinion, even if he wants to go on social media and share his opinion as a person. I think there's a difference when you do it at the table where town business is being conducted. And that all of those comments, I haven't actually checked their minutes, but I would assume all of those comments are now in the official record of the town of Newington. And to me, while we at this table, I believe, and Ms. Yapa and Mr. Sharma sound like we're all in agreement in terms of our reaction to what was said and our support for Dr. Brummett and Dr. Fletcher, I don't see a path forward in terms of course, we would obviously want to work with them and make all the things happen, but this is always going to be in the back of people's minds. And unless the town council led by the mayor address these comments with Councilor Camillo, either through a censure or some sort of apology, not only to Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Brummett, but to this board, our educators and our students on behalf of the town council, I find it hard to rationalize we're just going to move forward from this and work together, because that was, in my opinion, a very planned slap in the face. It seemed like it wasn't off the cuff, and I think that I'm very glad that we're addressing those comments, but I think that overall, I would like to see the body in which he's a part of also do that and show this body the respect that we would show them if one of our members at this table did exactly what he did. So I just wanted to make sure I said that. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind words. Okay, Dr. Brummett.
Awesome. All right, so one that I omitted, which was a big one, is that the board is stealing money from the town in the name of children. And, I wanted to put forth two factual pieces of information. One is we do use our money very wisely, and in the 2 out of the 3 years that I've been here, in an effort to call it an olive branch, call it a transparency move, call it a good budgeting protocol, when we had additional funds at the end of the year, because you take a budget, you make a plan, and sometimes you're over, we return things to the town in full transparency and in an effort to create that relationship. So I just put this, the board has seen this before in my budget presentation last year, but I wanted to be clear that there have been 2 fiscal years in which money was sent back to the town. I don't think that happens very often in the world of board budgets, but I was hoping it would be left with a sentiment of, the board is trying to do the right thing, using the money they need, turning back what they don't need. That remains to be seen about how that really has impacted the town council. I don't know. And then when you look at our increases, we're slightly below the towns. So our increases have been, the highlighted ones are the years I've been here, but our 6-year average is slightly below the town's 6-year average. So while 2% of our budget is a lot more money than 2% of their budget, the reality is it's proportionate because we have more expenses. So I believe we've tried to put forward very reasonable budgets. This board has deliberated for long periods of time, looking at every possible opportunity. Don't agree with that statement at all. On a personal note, I've been an educator for 37 years, been a superintendent this will be my 7th year. I've not seen this level of acrimony. It'd be unfair to say that boards and towns are always going to get along, but certainly there is not this level of overt acrimony. I enjoyed a very positive relationship with the town officials where I previously was superintendent. I haven't, other than individuals that I've been able to work with, just haven't seen that here to the level that I've experienced. And I certainly came in with that mindset that I'll work with the town. I'll want to make sure we get there. And I will say there have been positives, and there have been a lot of some folks coming forward in that mindset. And I will say even a few remarks by other counselors the other night indicated that I'm not sure we agree with those statements, but I want to put it out there that I am one of those folks, as I believe the board here is, that wants to work collaboratively. It's the way to go. It's far less stressful than the acrimonious environment that we've been dealing with. But, you know, none of us are Teflon. And I still, for the life of me, can't imagine what would prompt someone to call for my resignation who doesn't really know the ins and outs of what I do on a daily basis. But that being said, I think we've had our opportunity tonight to discuss it. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Fletcher.
All right. Ms. Parati?
Thank you. I was pretty quiet. Well, I didn't say anything this whole time, but I listened to the comments several times. I was like taken aback by the just how the acrimonious. Yes, thank you for teaching us a new vocabulary word this evening. High honors can definitely read and write. Yeah, so I was just taken aback by these comments, and obviously, we've discussed that none of us agree with anything except that our, well qualified schools. I don't even have the words right now, but property values are impacted by our schools, and we feel, I have 2 kids in public school. I am super proud to send them there. I moved to Newington because of the schools. I want to keep it that way. It's why I'm here. So I think it's just really embarrassing for an elected official of our town to say things like that. There was 2 council members that did, like you mentioned, Dr. Brummett, that did say that these are his opinions, and maybe the whole council doesn't feel that way. I would hope that, to Mr. Brenda's point, something is done about that, an apology, anything. It's embarrassing. It's just not true, and I don't know what he was trying to get out of it. Everybody is welcome here. We appreciate members of the community stepping forward and voicing their opinions and talking to us, and we've never turned anyone away. We've never shut the door. We've never said you're not allowed to speak unless you go over your 3 minutes. But you have 2 opportunities every meeting, and we have plenty of meetings. So I just, we're all taxpayers. We all are impacted by the decisions that we're making and the town council is making. So that's all. And Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Brummett, please do not resign. I think that you are both a huge asset to our town and our school system, and we appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Weaver and then Ms. Rose.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back with closing comments for myself on what Mr. Branda touched upon is the comments and the text that you've received, Dr. Fletcher, are absolutely disgusting, inappropriate, and as elected officials, we are supposed to set the example. And I've always noticed, kind of as the youngster of the group here, that some of them, I'm like, you're supposed to be setting an example for me and my younger folk, and you absolutely are dropping the ball on that. This is no way to act, and I think I just want to really emphasize, and I don't know if it comes as a statement from board members as a collective. I don't want to speak for all of us, but I feel like we do have a great consensus here that we fully support Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Brummett in their roles. And I am not only proud to have their leadership, but I'm honored as a taxpayer to be guided by their leadership, to have them oversee this board, because I think they have done an incredible job in the face of multiple crises, it seems like, that none of us anticipated to this level. And that goes for pandemics, for budget cuts, for everything. And in the face of adversity, you have risen to the occasion multiple times. And I think it needs to be reiterated, or maybe just stated again by our board. I don't know if it's a motion or something, but that the board has a consensus that we not only fully denounce these comments, but particularly have this, give full support for Dr. Fletcher and Dr. Brummett in their respective roles.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rose.
So 3 things. I'm very, I don't know, like I'm really chatty today. So I have 3 things, if that's okay. One is, not only do we let public speak, but the last time we were here, we had a member of the public, maybe 2 times ago, and I don't remember. I believe his name was like Mr. De Silva, I think it was Richard.
Yes.
He made a comment and you replied, and he actually said, "Can I come back?" And you said yes. Like, you didn't just say, nope, like your 3 minutes are up. And then in addition, when public comes and talks to us, we actually do something about it. So we had a member of the public come and talk to us about the buses. We listened, we did something about it. We had a young boy come to us and talk to us about adding, Eid, was Eid? Yeah. I thought he wanted Diwali added. Okay, Diwali added.
But we had both.
But we added
Both,
both, right?
yeah.
Because right, so we listened to that. So we really actually, we listen to what people have to say. It's not just
Yes.
an empty voice. And whenever any member of the public, whether they email us or they come to us, we look into it and we respond. So that's the first. And the second thing I really like, well, I have 3. So the second thing is, I remember when you were hired and your previous Board of Ed came and cried to us and they were very mad at us. Do you remember that? So, you know, they were really mad at us. They're like, how dare you take her? So, you know, Dr. Brummett was hired and was vetted, and we spent a lot of time, and Mr. Brand and I were on the board at the time, and we had a lot of candidates, and we spent a lot of time like interviewing and looking into things. And so it wasn't like it was a haphazard choice. So I just want to preface that. And like I said, her previous board very mad at us. And then the third thing is, you know, I do want to just state again that going against your public schools is amazing to me. I have, you know, since we're all bragging about our kids, I'm going to brag about my kids. I have I have 3 kids, but 2 of them are in very affluent colleges, and they both have over a 3.9 GPA. And they didn't get those skills from me. I assure you, I had to look up what acrimony meant, right? So they learned that from Newington Public Schools. So I do live here, and I put my roots here, and I was proud to, like, the days my kids graduated, as all parents are proud, but like, I was like, yeah, like Newington High, I'm gonna be on the board, I'm gonna hug my kid, like, right? So there's so much pride in there, and I don't understand why we would want to take that away. So I'm not even gonna do board comments then, I'm gonna shut.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Sharma.
All right, just a quick comment. I'm just gonna say that, you know, Dr. Brummett and Dr. Fletcher, you have my full support. And, you know, I believe in like actions speak louder than words. So, you know, I think we all should wait and see what town council does about, you know, what this town council said. So, but I just wanted to make sure, you know, that goes in record, and we all should wait and see, you know, see what happens. Thanks.
All right, thank you. So we will be given an opportunity for all board members to make their final remarks. But at this time, I'm going to give the public an opportunity to participate. You can call 860-665-8659. You can raise your hand here in the Google Meet. And we just ask that you state your name and the street you live on. Don't give out your number, just the street you live on. And we ask that you limit your participation to 3 minutes. Okay, all right, Ms. Havens?
Oops, sorry, I was muted. Hi, I just wanted to say that I didn't hear Mr. Camillo's
Ms.
comments
Havens,
live.
Ms.
Yes?
Havens, we cannot hear you. Your audio is breaking up.
All right, let me get a little closer to the router. Is this better? Can you hear me now?
No, not yet.
Garrett, can you shut that off, please? They said they can't hear me.
Going in and out.
Can you hear me now? How about now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
I like it better. Yeah. A little bit. Better.
That's a little bit better.
All right. Had no problems on my EDC meeting. Okay, I just wanted to say I didn't hear Mike's comments
No.
in person on the. No?
No, the audio has deteriorated.
Okay, you know what?
Do you want to try to call in?
Yeah, use the
Now
number.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she's connecting herself.
Okay, so the number is on the screen.
I think it's cell connection, not Wi-Fi. That's the issue there.
Oh, she's myself?
Yes, you can still
For data.
use Meet that way.
Oh, Google Meet on herself.
Maybe slow.
Mhm.
She can also dial in to Meet from her phone or call the public participation.
There's a hand up while we wait for her.
It's me. I'm trying again. Can you hear me now?
No,
It's in and out.
yeah. Okay. If you want,
I'm trying to call.
all right, so,
It's what?
She's trying to call, there's an awful lot of numbers.
Oh,
okay, so
Yeah,
it's,
there are.
that's true.
yeah, that's true. It's 860-665-8659.
Welcome to Google Meet.
Okay, so in the meantime,
Followed by pound key.
okay, yeah,
Thank you. You're muted because a
Craig's getting a call.
okay.
Hello?
Are they there? Can you? I said accept.
Okay, I can't,
Tell her to hit dial 6. Star 6.
star 6?
Yeah, star 6 is down mute.
Okay. So you gotta hit star 6 on your phone? Is she still on the line there?
I am.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
yes, we can. Yes, we
Okay.
can. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just like to say I missed. I did not hear all of Mr. Camillo's comments. I did get to read them from Newington News, thanks to some screenshots. He maybe had some truths. He definitely had some things that might have been blown out of proportion. But I think what you're doing here is just giving more fuel to the fire. And when you were in executive session, I think it would have been better to discuss it there and come back with a statement rather than this, because it's just as bad, if not worse, than what he did. It's just my opinion. And now I'd also like to speak to something else on the agenda. Your EPA, DPH. I know that it was an executive session, but just a question is, Mr. Plum now certified in all the asbestos? And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. And next is Sean Sorensen.
Hi, my name is Sean Sorensen. I live on Cypress Road. I just wanted to say, when we moved here 7 years ago, we picked Newington because of the school system here. We have 2 kiddos in it. Both my wife and I volunteer weekly, if not more, to help support these schools. And it was shocking to see the attack against this system and the continued attack from some of our community on a group of people that are doing their darndest to educate our children and provide everyone what they need to succeed in life. So I just want to come out in support of the board and of our educators and say that thank you for all that you do. And I hope we can do more for you, and I hope to support you more. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sorensen. Okay, there's no one else with a hand raised. Nobody else is called in. All right, so now we're going to move on to the final F, and that's going to be remarks by board members. If there are any further remarks that board members would like to make, this is your opportunity. I can tell by the closing of the laptops that, okay, so I am going to make a final comment. I promise not to be very long. But in 2013, after suffering a heart attack, which was not my first one, I was advised by my cardiologist to get out of administration.
I have a call coming. Is it too late?
Okay. Go ahead and answer it. I can hold my remarks.
saying no. I did hit accept, it's not.
They're not there.
They normally come straight into.
Okay. So under the advice of my cardiologist, I resigned as a principal. I had to give up the high stress. I had previously worked for the Newington Public Schools as a substitute teacher. And I decided, because I couldn't handle, I mean, I had a job, but I just, not being in a classroom and just was driving me nuts. So January 2014, I went back to work for Newington Public Schools. I liked it so much, I was offered jobs in other districts, even for more money, because I have a PhD. And I refused to go because I liked our school system here so much. I said, I'd rather have a little bit lower pay and work with people that I really like. And so for 5 or 6 years, whatever it was, I stayed in the school system and I made a lot of friends. And we have some high quality teachers and administrators. So to me, I'm proud to say that I was a part of all of that. And that's why I stated when I took this chair that I have their back. I'll watch for them because we have some of the best teachers, some of the highest quality. And I will tell you that in the early year, what year was it? 2019, correct? That you came to work. We were at a very low point with morale in the staff. We really were. And when Dr. Brummett was hired, the joy that came back in some of those teachers was just phenomenal. And, you know, people were excited once again. They could see positive once again. So the morale was raised up. So, you know, I'm going to fight. I'm going to defend this because we're at a good place. And I know we spend millions of dollars, but you don't do anything for free anymore. And I think that we've done the best. You know, we've been told that there's money hidden and, you know, secret accounts and stuff like that. And it's impossible. We've been, you know, we looked, it's impossible. And so I think that it's time for people to just accept the fact that it costs a lot of money to run an educational system. And if you're not familiar with how a school runs or how a district runs, then just be quiet and learn. Okay? Opinions are a dime a dozen. Everybody has them, and we know what they smell like sometimes, right? So you have your opinions. You can state your opinions. I will defend your right to speak anything that you want to speak, but that doesn't mean that because you have the right to speak that what you speak is right. And we will defend the truth, and we will defend the honor of this system. And I'm very proud to work with this board that we have here. I'll be honest with you, I'm very proud. You guys are great. And I want to thank you for everything you're doing. Okay? Sooner or later, the grass is going to grow. There's been enough stuff spread on it.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's made and seconded. We are adjourned.
Awesome.
Can we get a quote book at the end of this, Dr. Blunder? Just
I had a heart attack, I was on the.
You know,
I was in the airport.
I have a team.
I love it.
That's fine.